Hello, world. This is Querying Theology and Philosophy and Spirituality. And those are cosmic sounds, lost in the glowing lights of the stars and the planets and the aurora borealis, the northern lights. Wow. Thank you so much for those cosmic sounds. And today, we welcome you to another broadcast of Querying Theology and Philosophy and Spirituality. And we are looking at the church and the different diverse denominations and diverse faiths. You've got to understand diversity is the principle. And faith is diverse. Yes, it is, because everybody can believe in something. Some people believe in God. Some people believe in gods. Some people believe in Yahweh, but they don't believe in El Shaddai. And some people believe in Allah, but they don't think Allah is the same as Yahweh. And some people believe in Buddha. So all of these things happen. And it's diversity of faith. And one thing you have got to understand about people, when you hold on to faith, you stick to it as truth, as gospel truth. And so this is why some people are very exclusive about their faith. You know, evangelicals are the most exclusive, and maybe Muslims, but I know evangelicals, they are so proud of their faith. When I was thinking about LGBTQ pride, I was talking about evangelical pride. You know, they are so proud of their faith. They know they're the ones who know everything, and they are with the closest to God, and they chest thump, Bible thumping, and all of that is the evangelical people. But in reality, despite all of that Bible thumping and pride, guess what? The world still remains the way it is. Yes, it remains the way it is. I mean, Muslims still are there, though there are some few Muslims who become Christians or atheist. And even Christians become Muslim or atheist or Buddhist. So everybody can convert their faith. And faith is a personal matter. That's why for me, even though this is a Christian-centered station or center, we are pantheistic. We are tolerant of every faith, in the sense that it's in the sense that whatever you believe is what you want to believe in. And if it is faith that is combined with love and hope, then we are part of that. Because, you know, there are some people who believe in things that don't bring life and hope, love and hope. So we are part of the love and hope, faith, hope, and love, which the greatest of this is love. Those are the faiths we stand with in the world. But we've got to know faith is diverse. Now, today we are going to focus on one faith or one denomination, but we'll call it faith because in the Christian faith, there are very many faiths. What does that mean? Many creeds. Many churches have different creeds, different faiths. Some churches believe if you are baptized in water, you are saved. Others believe if you call on the name of Jesus, you are saved. Others believe if you speak in tongues, you are saved. Others believe if you read the Bible and follow the commandments of God, you are saved. You see, many people have different salvations. There is so many salvations out there. And as I've told you, evangelicals are the ones who insist on their way of salvation. And they make people, because that's how they are. That's why they're called evangelical. They are evangelizers. They're people who proclaim good news. But from what we get, sometimes people don't think they do that. Anyway, So we are looking at one faith, one strand of faith, or one faith in the diverse faiths of the world. And it's the United Church of Christ, one of my, if not my best denominations. When I got to know this denomination, I loved it. The reason why I loved it was it allowed the most important, if you allow independence and read through, and the liberal conservative, you see, the leaning church, very, very rigid, very strict. They want way, and that's not. Yeah. Oh, I'm just a transgender. God, I mean, don't stop that transgender from praying. Let them pray. Let them seek God the way they know. Let them read the Bible if they want to read it. Let them give ideas. It's free, of very beautiful, and of course, and another thing about UCC, it's so diverse because some churches are a bit conservative, others are very. So let's go through. We won't read everything. We'll just touch. So UCC is a liberal-leaning mainline Protestant Christian denomination based in the United States with historical confessional roots in the Reformed, Lutheran, and with approximately 5,000 churches and members. It is a historical continuation of the churches found under the influence of New England Puritan. The foundations of UCC is a Puritan church. Of course, that came from the English white men who came from England and set up the Puritan church. And they did that. And from this grew the congregational churches. And then from them grew the Reformed Lutheran. And now the Evangelical and Reformed Church and the General Council of Congregational Christian Churches united in 1957 to form the UCC. These two denominations, which were themselves the result of earlier unions, had their roots in congregational, Lutheran, Evangelical, and Reformed denominations. At the end of 2014, the UCC's 116 congregations claimed 979,239 members, primarily in U.S. Pew Research estimated that 0.4% or 1 million adult adherents population self-identify with UCC. United Church of Christ, that may all be one. Yes, I believe that. That is, they believe in oneness. They believe in singularity. They believe in unity. That they all, and all means what? Everybody, diverse, men, women, gay, transgender, pansexual, poor, rich, black, white, that they may all be one. And we can see there is a crown with a cross, and then we see a cross, and then the cross is on the circle, the emblem of UCC. And it is a Protestant church, as we've read. Orientation, like sexual orientation, Reformed, and politics, how they do. It's covenanted to uniting in Christ, National Council of Churches, World Communion of Reformed Churches, World Council of Churches. There you are. And the region is United States, headquarters Cleveland, Ohio. And the origin is 1957. And the merger of Evangelical and Reformed Church and the Congregational Christian Churches. Congregations 5,000 members, 880 and 383 members in 5,000 congregations 2016. Official website ucc.org. There is a lovely logo, United Church of Christ. Looks like, what does it look like? A wave or a comma. Yes, it's a comma. And I think it means God is still speaking. You know, when you put a comma, you're not yet done. You're still talking. And God is still speaking. Yeah, that's a lovely logo. UCC maintains full communion with other mainline Protestant denominations. Many of its congregations choose to practice open communion. Beautiful. Let's talk about this. You know, see is that they practice open communion, meaning as long as you are in the UCC vicinity or a UCC service, you are allowed to have communion. And I prefer this system. Reason being, when the first communion happened, nobody did catechism. There was no disciple broke bread and gave the wine. And he blessed it. And he shared among them, and he says often, he didn't tell them, okay, now, and train them, and then tell them that now they can take communion. No, it's for my basic. So didn't even need to go to a school to do them. You know? I mean, Jesus just taught his disciples 3 years of, and they're making a better Samsung. They're modifying. And so this is what people did to Christianity. The Christianity of today is not the same as the Christianity of the past. It's not the same. You've got to understand that. And it will not be the same in 100 years to and 200 years to come. It will not be the same. It's always changing. Every year, a new denomination is coming. Every year is coming up. Here, new ideas. And these ideas have the power. If you've built, that's it. And then a house, a new denomination. Build it up, build it up, build it up until you have found rules, you have customs, and then you're done. You've built another denomination. Then you build another house. And all of them. That's how religions and churches are made. Yes. Every culture was created by man. Yes. And this is what we are seeing here. The national settings of the UCC. Okay, sorry, I've just missed a sentence. The denomination places high Pentecostal, you know, and even though I was closeted in my tendencies, but I used to not be. I wasn't a fan. I used to be a very strong blogger. As I told you, I was also in the End Times movement, and my old articles used to address this issue. I wasn't a fan of ecumenism because I used to be one truth rather than many truths. Because if you have diverse truths, then what is truth? God is, like I now believe God has both sexes. He's either intersex or bisexual. God is intersex, and because just like human beings, we both have male and female hormones. A man has female and male hormones. A woman has male and female hormones. And if we are created in the image of God, then that's how God is. He's a man-woman, woman-man. And my views were also shared. I remember Kenneth Copeland also taught this. And he's right. He's very right. Because he read it, the way I read it from the King James Version, that male and female, he created them. Yes, he was male and female. He is male and female. And those movements, I now started understanding. Of course, I started understanding Islam, and I valued Islam. One thing I liked about Islam, the fundamentalism that causes terrorism, is I like the mercifulness of God. Right, he would write, and peace. I mean, yeah. So, I can talk about abortion forever. Okay, let's go on. However, United Church of Christ congregations are independent in matters of doctrine and ministry and may not necessarily support the national body's theological or moral stances. You see, I like this. They are independent of doctrine and ministry. It's self-described as an extremely pluralistic and diverse denomination. I like that about UCC. You need to be free and flexible. Let them be plural. This is, and you may find a church that doesn't want to approve abortion. Do video of UCC, if UCC church to be pro-life, do you know what you do? Go to the UCC church that pro-abortion, and you continue with life. And that's why I like them. I like them for that. They have allowed, everyone is in a UCC church. It's just that if one of your UCC churches doesn't have the views you espouse, you go to another UCC church that has your views, and you're done. You're fine. So this is a very good by them. Okay, let's go through the history. A bit of it. UCC was formed when two Protestant churches, okay, the Evangelical and Reformed Church and the Congregational churches, united in 1957. And they, of course, had a statement called the Basis of Union. And then the General Synod in 1959, a statement of faith. And the beliefs, what are the beliefs? There is no UCC hierarchy or body that can impose any doctrine or worship format on the congregation in the UCC. Wonderful. No hierarchy. There is no hierarchy in UCC or body that can impose any doctrine or worship format onto the individual congregations. I am in love with that sentence, because Paul the Apostle was a person who imposed doctrine and worship formats onto the individual congregations he wrote to. Have you noticed the doctrine and the worship format Paul wrote? It was Paul himself doing it. And he wrote to the churches how you should worship. Another thing you need to know about the letters, not all the letters specific. They went to the churches in those areas. It is only when the Bible was compiled that now every geographic in the world reads the letter to the church in Corinth. And the letters, these letters were not copied. They started copying them as soon as Paul died. When Paul died, to keep his writings, they copied them, and then other churches go to here. But most of the times, Paul was just writing an email to Corinth, to the church in the congregation. And he imposed doctrines, like he said, women shouldn't teach. Yes. There's one letter he wrote that. Then another letter he says women can actually teach women. So he was the one setting up the worship format. He also set up the how people should take communion. He told them what to do. Of course, he didn't write it out in a clear way. As I told you in the other video, the issue with ancient religious writings, they were not advanced in language. They were very simple. Yes, that's why we read, reading the New Testament is harder than the Old Testament. Because the Old Testament is a long time ago. It's more older than the New Testament writings. So the language is easy to understand, to digest, than the New Testament. New Testament, it's Greek. And those who knew Greek were very clever people. There were people who understood Greek language. It was very conch. And it was not like Hebrew and the other old languages. It's a fact. There are some languages which are harder than others. Now, so while individual congregations are supposed to hold guidance from the General Synod in the highest regard, I like that. This is very funny. The UCC's constitution requires that the autonomy of the local church is inherent and modifiable only by its own action. Yes, this is beautiful. The local church still is left to be autonomous. That's what I told you. That some churches, if they decide not to follow the UCC principles, they can do it on their own and modify. And that's it. Look at the UCC churches. They like churches looking like that. A spire and a house. South Parish Congregational Church in Augusta, Maine. 2013. Okay. So UCC describes itself as Christian Reformed, Congregational, and Evangelical. Oops, there we are. While UCC refers to its evangelical characteristics, it springs from and is considered part of mainline Protestantism as opposed to, yeah, that's why I said oops, because evangelical means of the gospel, the good news. But the other evangelicalism in America means the brand that is very political and Christian politics. It's more Christian politics than the gospel, the good news. It's whereby if you are a Christian, you're an evangelical, you're saved, you're born again, then you are a right person to rule, to do many things. That's the evangelicalism. But the evangelicalism of the UCC is basically of the gospel, of good news, telling people the good news. The motto of the United Church of Christ comes from John 17:21, that they may all be one. Jesus prayed that all people in the world may be one. That's what he did. And I love this. The denomination's official literature uses broad doctrinal parameters, emphasizing freedom of individual conscience and local church autonomy. In UCC creeds, confessions, and affirmations of faith, they function the testimonies of faith. So there is UCC, and they value Jesus Christ, the Son of God and the Savior, and it acknowledges as kindred in Christ all who share in this confession. Okay, so that's why it's a Christian denomination. It looks to the Word of God in the Scriptures and to the presence and the power of the Holy Spirit to prosper its creative and redemptive work in the world. It claims as its own the faith of the historic church expressed in ancient creeds and reclaimed in the basic insights of Protestant reformers: baptism and the Lord's Supper or Holy Communion. Okay, good. The denomination therefore lacks a number of historic confessions, and they value the Apostles' Creed, Nicene Creed, Heidelberg Catechism, Luther's Small Catechism, Kansas City Statement of Faith, Evangelical Catechism, and the Statement of Faith of the UCC. Now, that is UCC. David Rosen, director of the Hartford Institute of Religion Research, who has studied the UCC, said surveys show the National Church's pronouncements are often more liberal than the views in the pews, but that its governing structure is set up to allow such disagreements. Yeah. What I like about UCC is that there will be disagreements. Some people will not agree with you. And when you can look it here, let's see here. The study can be found online and reflects statistics on attitudes towards worship, baptism, and communion, such as laity 70% and clergy 90%. I like overwhelmingly describe worship as an encounter with God that leads to doing God's work in the world. I love that. Encounter with God. Worship is knowing God so that you can do His work in the world. And I believe everybody works in the world for God. Yes. Even the sex worker. Yes, because sex is good. Being a doctor is good. That's why they call it sexual healing. It's therapeutic. And artists, it's good to be an artist. It's good to be a musician, because you're doing also therapy. You're doing good work. You're doing God's work. It's good to be a teacher. It's good to be a blogger. You're teaching people. You're expressing yourself. It's good to be a vlogger. You're doing the work of God. And so when you worship God, you have an encounter with God and who He is. And you look at Him. It's like looking at God in the mirror or looking at Him face to face. And you say, wow, God, you are loving. You are so compassionate. And when you see you want to be like Him. You want to be compassionate. You want to be loving. You want to be kind. And then you do that when you go to work in the world. And as I've told you, everybody, even the sex worker, she or he can show God. And they can work. And they can show you love. And you say, wow, I really was touched by what you did to me. And you pay them. Yeah. I mean, Rahab, the prostitute, had faith. It's clear. She had faith. What does it mean? A prostitute went to heaven. And she was a child of God. So nobody can say prostitutes don't have faith. They do. They do. And they can do, and when they do their work, they're working for God. It's unbelievable, but it's true. It is true, because love is good. And of course, he's still going on talking about the UCC. It's a very nice church. And while clergy emphasized Holy Communion as a meal in which we encounter God's living presence, laity emphasized a remembrance of Jesus' Last Supper death. So the laity are more cultural. They are not as spiritual as the clergy. Yeah, you see, the clergy, it's because clergymen and women they tend to spend time with God. So most of their time is spent in spiritual activity. So this is why they can encounter with God's living presence. Can you imagine? They're even saying living presence. So it means they are so in tune spiritually that they can even tell when the presence of God is there. But the laity are just historical, they're just nominal people. Just, it's the usual thing we're gonna do. Take his bride. Yeah, he died. And it's okay. So why? It's because the laity is not, is less spiritual. That's why they're not clergy. They are not clergy. Even the layman, if you go to these Episcopalian churches, they have what you call the lay reader. And the lay reader is just a commoner or a non-clergy person who knows things about God. He's not so schooled, but he knows something and he can tell people. That's a lay reader. He's a laity who knows something about God. And so these people tend to be more historical and cultural. And actually, I've even seen this in LGBTQ churches. The LGBTQ ministers tend to be very, very quiet about active sexual life. You don't see them really, being hedonistic, which is not bad it's not bad being hedonistic. But there's a way they focus on their spiritual life. But I am of the view that no, you can be spiritual and also be in the natural world. Yes. And that's what I do believe. You can drink and you can club, you can go and dance, and then you can pray. I mean, it's a world. What we're understanding now about life is that we are in physical bodies. We are physical bodies. And though we can control our physical needs, our physical wants, we can also refresh our physical wants. It's not a crime to go and club, even though you're a pastor. Yeah, I take that approach. It's not a crime for you to be a pastor and you are wearing a stud, I mean, why judge? Remember what the Pope said. Who am I to judge gay people? Yes. Who? How can you say this person does not deserve to worship God? Who are you? Are you God? You see? And this is just an interesting thing. I'm happy to see this, but it is understandable. It's very clear. I can talk about this forever. Okay. Relationships with other denominations. Of course, as we said, they're ecumenical and they have worked with very many others. And of course, the World Council of Churches has dealt with baptism, Eucharist, and ministry. together with them. UCC is friendly with other religions. They have been working with the Muslims and Jews. This includes membership in the National Muslim Christian Initiative. This is very good to do, because Islam is very similar to Christianity, only that it doesn't have grace. You know, the concept of grace and the concept of that Jesus Christ died for the sins of the world. They don't have that, though they have that story in the Quran. That's why Muslims still do sacrifice. You know, during the Eid ul-Adha, Eid ul-Adha, they do the sacrifice for an atonement of sins. And the Jews also do the same when they have Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. But the Christians don't have those, don't put that, because Jesus Christ is the final sacrifice. So there is no more sacrificing of animals for the forgiveness of sins. All you do when you sin, you remember what Jesus Christ did. So when I think of Abrahamic religions, I prefer Christianity. It's more liberal. It's clear. It's already done. You know, you don't really have to struggle to going to get a lamb and then sacrificing. But I'm not attacking Jews or Muslims, and I'm not telling them to become Christian, because they know why they believe that. But I stand with Christians on that. Okay. Structure of UCC. The basic unit of life and organization is the local church. Yeah, we've already discussed that. And the organization is considered covenantal. As I've told you, when they make decisions, it's like they are making covenants. And so the decisions are made in consultation and collaboration amongst the various parts and structures various parts of the structure. As members of the body of Christ, each expression of the church is called to honor and respect the work and ministry of each part. Each expression of the church listens, hears, and carefully considers the advice, counsel, and requests of others. I love that. They have time to listen to each other. It's a very democratic church. It's not like the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is a bit monarchical or dictatorial. There's one man who tells you what to do. But the UCC is a very democratic church. And we said local church. Wikipedia is repeating that. And other churches, mainly of, what are we on? We're still on, the local churches. Yes. Yeah, that's the local churches. And the selection of the minister for the congregation is in keeping with the Reformed tradition of the priesthood of all believers. Very good, very important. All believers are priests. That's what you need to know in the UCC. All believers are priests. And some are more priestly than others, of course, as we include George Orwell. At the end of 2008, of course, they're still talking about the local churches. I don't want to read so much on that. That is a lot of statistics and other stories that don't consider us or are not very important to us now. And conferences, the members of larger conferences, they have conferences which are 38 in number. And a conference typically consists multiple associations. And you have our church's wider mission, our Christian World Mission, the United Church of Christ denominational support system. And they are talking about those conferences. The primary ecclesiastical function of a conference is to provide the primary support for the search and call process by which churches select ordained leadership. So this is about how they pick their leaders through the conference. Now here is a very interesting story. They're still on the conferences. Oh yeah, look at this. Only one conference has ever withdrawn completely from the denomination. And this is Puerto Rico, expressing disapproval of the of national UCC tolerance of homosexuality, as well as that of a large number of mainland congregations, departed the denomination in 2006 taking all of its churches. Oh my goodness, what a bad conference. Yes, you see, Puerto Rico did not stand with the American churches, the UCC churches that approved, that tolerate homosexuality. And that conference took very many churches. So that's the liberality in UCC. But sadly, it left the denomination. Not only did it have a different policy, it left the denomination. So this is clearly telling you the homophobia that is in Puerto Rico. Very sad. We hope they would come to their senses and understand homosexuality. Now, this is a general synod which meets every 2 years, and these are delegates from the conferences and officers of the denomination and representatives of the historically underrepresented groups such as the disabled, young adults, racial minorities, and gay and lesbian persons. Beautiful church. Are you seeing the board, the general synod? It's made up of disabled people, young adults, racial minorities, gay and lesbian persons. Beautiful. This is how not only a church should be, or a religious setup, but a political setup should have this type of representation. I would use this system for government, whereby these people, the historically underrepresented groups, get special seats in government, in the parliament, or in the executive, or in the legislature, or in the judiciary. You know, all of these areas, you cover these historically underrepresented people so that nobody feels left out. You see, this is the inclusivity I was talking about that is in UCC. And the General Synod considers 3 kinds of resolutions. They have pronouncements, they have proposals for action, and they have resolutions and other formal motions. Good. So that's mostly about UCC. There's a lot. It's a mouthful. And you know, UCC is just a very nice, simple denomination. What about the Baptist? Oh my God, we would talk forever. So that's why I'm running through over them. I'm not going to stick around. I'll let you come and read. Look at this. Beautiful. They have affiliated ministry. The pension boards of the United Church of Christ, PBUCC. They have operates the employee benefit system. Look at that. Beautiful. For all settings of the United Church of Christ, including health, dental, and optical insurance, retirement annuity, pension systems, disability, and life insurance, and ministerial assistance programs. Look at that. That's a church that is working like Jesus Christ in a modern world. You know, they're giving people health care, giving people dental care, optical care, optical insurance, retirement, pension systems. Practically nobody in that church is going to lack. Beautiful. Oh my. I'm glad I love UCC that much. It's beautiful. And look at them. They have fund. United Church Funds. United Church Foundation provides low-cost, socially responsible, professionally managed common investment funds and other trustee services to any setting of the United Church of Christ. Yes, look at them. They're busy funding. They have property insurance. Wow. This is what we want to happen in many denominations. Scientific and modernized religious settings, whereby you, even though you're religious, you are contemporary. You are with the times, and you are taking care of people. Yeah, good church. And civil rights movement. These are the activities. Everett Parker of UCC Office of Communication, at the request of Martin. Wow, this is beautiful. At the request of Martin Luther King Jr., organized UCC churches. Wow, this is beautiful. So Martin Luther King talked to Everett, and Everett then decided to organize UCC churches during 1959 against television stations in the southern United States that were imposing news blackouts on information pertaining to the civil rights movement. Oh my, Everett needs a kiss. He listened to MLK, who begged him to organize his churches, the UCC churches, against TV stations that gave MLK blackout. You know, the South has very many blacks. Actually, I'm doing a study about the blacks who live in the southern states. Oh my, I think that they are very interesting. You know, okay, of course the blacks who went to the north, those are the free blacks who most of them, not all of them. You know, America, you can migrate as much as you want, but most of them who have family homes that have stayed in the north actually were the freed slaves. But the blacks, most of the blacks who lived in the south, I think they just stayed there until emancipation, and they didn't move out, and they still had problems. Southern states were still thinking Gettysburg. They were still pre-Gettysburg. In 1959, they were still pre-Gettysburg. Can you imagine 60, not even 60 years, 100 years after, almost 100 years of the emancipation, the southern states were still thinking like pre-Civil War. Wow, unbelievable. And this is going to be another topic one day when we talk about social justice. Oh my, I didn't know racism can be that long. Anyway, I'm happy Everett did this, and UCC won their lawsuit that resulted in the federal court decision that the broadcast airwaves are public and not private property. Good. Social activism. UCC has been active in numerous traditional liberal social causes, including support for abortion rights, United Farm Workers, and the Wilmington 10. Good. Same-sex marriage. Churches in the UCC are allowed to solemnize same-sex unions. Congratulations, well done. In support of equal marriage rights for all. Yes, because love is love, whether gay or straight. Equal marriage rights for all people, regardless. Leave alone those who say irregardless. It says regardless of gender. And it now is the second largest Christian denomination entity in the U.S. to support same-sex marriage after the Presbyterian Church. Congratulations, UCC. You have done well to be open and affirming. Look at the UCC's Open and Affirming movement, funded, are you seeing, by the UCC Open and Affirming Coalition. It's the largest welcoming church program in the world, with more than 1,100 congregations and 275,000 members. Congratulations. UCC is understanding that LGBT people can also be part of their church. And, of course, they've gone through lawsuits concerning same-sex marriage. But the church argued that prohibiting same-sex marriage violates the freedom of religion, as the ban forced ministers for same-sex marriages not to act on their beliefs. You see? Beautiful lawsuit that happened in 2014. Same-sex marriage is not supported by some UCC congregations, but it's rapidly gaining ground. Opponents include, as we said, Puerto Rico, 3/4, which voted to withdraw from UCC, and there's a Biblical Witness Fellowship. Oh my, everywhere. The Biblicists are in every denomination. Goodness me. And they oppose the denomination's growing support for same-sex relationships. Of course, in every family, there is a different person who doesn't view things as you view. So it's a struggle. Of course, not everybody will come on board, but they have to know that gay people are loving people. They love each other. Gay sex is love. Nobody should lie to you. it is not love. And this is very funny. Oh my God, there was an apology resolution. UCC was recognizing the apology resolution to Native Hawaiians. Congress recognized the reconciliation made by UCC in the 18th General Synod for their actions. Wow, what a interesting thing. Overthrowing the Kingdom of Hawaii. Wow, look at that. This is what churches should do. You know, there's some colonial churches that attacked native kingdoms, and sometimes they have to reconcile and say sorry. They took land, they killed people using the colonial forces, and UCC apologized. Good church. Now let's look. Oh, Israel and Palestine. Wow, I wonder what they're saying. They said one calls for the use of economic leverage to promote peace in the Middle East, which can include measures such as government lobbying, selective investment, shareholder lobbying, and selective from companies which profit from the continuing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The other resolution was tear down the wall, calls upon Israel to remove the separation barrier between they're saying tear down the wall, calls upon Israel to remove the separation barrier between Israel and the West Bank. Opponents of the tear down the wall resolution have noted that the wall's purpose is to prevent terrorist attacks, and that the resolution does not call for a stop to these attacks. And the Anti-Defamation League stated that those same resolutions are disappointing and disturbed. Is not happy with those resolutions dying, and this is what is happening. And now say Israel say Lana Del Rey is anti-Semitic. So the world, and they do not need you, but from now on we will never attack you, and we want to be friends with you. Then there will be no need of the wall. But since that there is no resolution for Palestine, then Israel has put up a wall. Now, I am not saying that now Trump is allowed to put. That is wrong. Trump's wall is not my cup of tea against USA. I mean, a very good chart I saw that shows Hispanics are increasing in number in America. The fastest growing population in America is Hispanics, and by 2050, they will be will be almost a third of the nation will be Hispanic, surpassing blacks. And so what does this mean? Politics is going to change, language is going to change, and so to stem that, Trump is building a wall so that there are fewer Hispanics in America, and so that the white population remains a bit stable in his eyes and in their eyes. So that's the problem that's happening. But I don't support that wall, Trump's wall. I only support this wall on the basis of terrorist attacks, because so far Palestine and Israel have not. They need to make a deal where they'll say they will never attack each other and they will live in harmony and peace. Until that time, Israel can do what it wants in terms of war. In addition to the concerns, the economic leverage, Michael Downs of the UCC Pension Board wrote a letter to John Thomas expressing concern with the precedent implications of vowed against the actions, integrity of process and trust. Okay, this is about economics, so we won't really go into that now. I was so much into Israel because Israel is a very big issue. It's a political issue. And I'm basically, if I'm a two-state person, but a two-state person in the sense that Israel should get a clear response from Palestine, as how Palestine views Israel. Because as long as Palestine views them as enemies who should be thrown out of Israel, or the Palestine, as they call it, they call Israel Palestine. So as long as they're removed out of Palestine, then it means that they do not respect Israeli life. There's what you call regional relationship in a country, in a geographical setting. If you do not have a good regional relationship, neighborly relationship, it's like your neighbor. If your neighbor has a gun and he keeps on telling you, I'm going to kill you because, and then next thing you know, so I should has a right to protect itself on the basis that Palestine has not given a response of harmonious relationship with Israel. But if they say Israel become our friends, then Israel doesn't need a wall. Walls are only built for countries that do not see eye to eye. So the presence of the wall in Israel is a presence of war in the Middle East. Is that these are not neighbors. They don't love each other. Because you only build a wall in a whole country whereby you have enemies surrounding you. So Israel views Palestine as an enemy state. Can you imagine they can't even trade with each other because of that? So that's my view. I'll talk about Israel one time privately, in another video. Now, UCC also does sexuality education very good. We want this to happen in very many churches. Sexuality and faith, very, very important. Well done, UCC, 100%. You have our support. And there you have it. God is still speaking banner. The comma. The great comma. God is still speaking identity campaign. I love it because God is still speaking. He hasn't stopped. Oh, people think God stopped speaking in the Bible, the last verse of Revelation, and he has never spoken again. No, he speaks every day, and he is still speaking. So they are the ones who move for that. They're progressives. Criticism. Let's see what the criticism is. Some critics are vocal about, some people don't like the UCC for giving the individual congregations great deal of freedom in areas of sex marriage. But wow, look at that. Beautiful. Former US President Barack Obama speaking at UCC gatherings. It caused a with the IRS. Because the church it seemed like the church was campaigning for him. Wow, this is beautiful. And the IRS is always looking for churches that violate 501(c), whereby they get political and yet they are not paying taxes. And so I think they disturbed them for that. But one thing I know, Obama was a member of UCC. So I don't think, it's very hard. Why stop your member from talking? Yes, why stop your member from talking? And this is another discussion we're going to have. It's very common in Africa, where politicians visit churches and talk. And I'm wondering, yes, I believe a politician can talk in church. He is allowed to talk. Of course, people will say it brings campaigning but there are different views. Some people love you, some people hate you. Not everybody's going to love you. And a politician can be a member of a church. And as I've told you, we are all the church. Even the politician is a member. And that's why I like UCC. Because UCC has open communion. Secondly, a politician is a person of influence. He is also ruling the people. The members of the church are ruled by that politician. So they can listen to him. So it's not wrong to have politicians in the church. But what could be wrong is putting pedestal. You have to remind people that they are human beings just like anybody else. And so that is what happened. Okay, let's see the membership. Of course, we've seen 2 million members in nearly 7,000 churches. It has suffered a 44% loss in membership since the mid 1960s. It can happen. Churches grow and grow and decrease in number. The CCC has a highly educated membership with 46% of members holding graduate. Wow, that's very good. Degrees, very good, very good. Only Episcopalians and Anglicans ranked higher. Very educated people. The church also claims a disproportionate share of high. It's a rich and, well, kind of. And UCC institutions, all of these are the schools, and there are very many academies and all of these Hartford. Nice. Now, list of prominent UCC churches. Cathedral of Hope. It is with the largest primary outreach to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. Local membership, wow, exceeds 4,000 people. Though the church claims over 52,000 worldwide constituents. Wonderful. Thank you for caring for us, the LGBTQ community. And Plymouth Church Seattle. And then you have Riverside Church, Interdenominational Church in New York. And Harry Emerson was the first minister. And then you have Trinity United Church of Christ, Obama's church, predominantly black. And, well, it used to be Obama's church. I don't know if it goes there anymore. And Reverend Jeremiah Wright, you remember him? He was there. He pastored that church, and now it is with Otis Moss. And Zion United UCC also exists. And there are too many churches. You'll read for yourself. Now let's look at the members. Wow, Daniel Akaka, U.S. Senator, Democrat. Max Baucus, U.S. Senator, Democrat. John Corzine, Governor, Democrat. Howard Dean, DNC, Democrat. Jim Douglas, Republican. Wow, at least. Mills Godwin, Democrat. Yeah. Bob Graham, Senator, Florida, Democrat. Maggie Hassan, former New Hampshire, Democrat. Jude Gregg, Republican. When Vice President of the United States. Former. Wow. Jim Jeffords. Okay. Mark Kirk. Barack Obama. Wonderful. Congratulations, Obama, for being in the best church. I love UCC. It's very diverse and very, very sound. Beautiful. Congratulations to America for having a president belonging in a sober denomination. Robert Orr, Sally Peterson, William Proxmire, Kwame Raoul, wow, George Smith.